Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be courting women without being needy. I've got actually 3 emails that I'm going to go through today. Before we get into the first one, I got a quote I wrote that I'd like to share with you. And it says, "Women are not light switches. You can't switch them on to fall in love instantly or want a relationship with you from the start. Relationships evolve slowly over several months and dozens of dates involving fun, laughing, playing, and making love together. Society has brainwashed men into believing that they need to focus on locking women down to a commitment or they will lose them to another man. When a man is focused on getting a commitment right away, all he ends up doing is communicating that he is needy, insecure, impatient, and feels unworthy to be with her, to which she will eventually agree with and dump him. Focus instead on having fun and enjoying each other, and everything will happen naturally. Unless the woman is bringing up a commitment, assume it's too soon or you will turn her off." So let's go ahead and jump into the first guy's email. He says, "Hi Corey, I could do with some advice. I've been dating a lady for a few weeks, and prior to dating her, I met her at a friend's party, and I said that we could only be friends and have fun at the time because I wasn't able to fully commit because I had a lot going on." See, it's like right away, you're assuming that dating someone equals being in a relationship, and that's not the case. A woman, how she approaches that first date, she's just going out to see what happens, to see if there's any chemistry, to see if she has fun with you, whatever. And you're thinking, okay, well, if I'm going to go out, then the relationship is on the table. It's like, no, go out and have one successful date. He says, "I was also trying to find a job I'd be happy with and settled in." Yeah, I can tell as a man, if your business isn't stable or your career's up in the air or you happen to be unemployed, part of being a man is masculine energy, is purpose, drive, mission, succeeding, accomplishing, breaking through barriers. And if you're worried about where your next paycheck is coming from or how you're going to pay your rent or your mortgage this month, you're not going to feel very stable. And obviously in that particular case, you're not going to feel comfortable about being in a relationship. And so this actually works to your advantage when you say, hey, you're only interested, that you could only be friends. And so what that communicates to the woman is that you're not trying to rush into anything. Without even realizing what you did, you actually did the right thing initially. He says, "We went out on one occasion where we ended up sleeping together, hang out, have fun, hook up. That's perfect. That's all you really have to focus on." He says, "After that, it was slightly awkward parting company in the morning as I felt like I should have said, 'Let's go on a date next time,' but I didn't." Again, it's like you think there's got to be some big, massive event with fireworks going off, and it's like, this is a date. It's officially a big deal. But because you didn't make it a big deal, because at the end of the day, attraction is already handled by Mother Nature. She liked you, and you liked her. You hung out together. While you were hanging out, you had some fun, you had some laughs, and you made a move, and you hooked up. That's naturally, without realizing it, you stumbled right into it. But because you're so focused on a relationship, and like, I have to be her man, I have to become her boyfriend, because that's what you see in movies all the time. It's with the guy. There's never just dating and having fun. It's all about the one special girl and the big conversation about the relationship. He says, "I felt a lot towards this lady from the beginning, but I knew it wasn't the right time and place." That's correct. And that's why you were able to hook up with her basically on your first date. He says, "I left it up for about 4 to 6 weeks because I wanted to contact her to say, 'Come away with me for the weekend,' and thankfully she agreed." Well, it tells me you're putting her on a pedestal. I mean, you're talking like a guy like, "Oh my God, she agreed to spend time with me." At the end of the day, dude, she liked you. Why? You did it for her. It's just the way it is. Attraction is not a choice. She either likes you or she doesn't. When you meet a girl and you want to ask her out on a date and you actually go through it and do it, I mean, really what you want to know is, are you in or you're out? In other words, are you attracted enough to me to want to go out with me? Because obviously if you're asking her, you're digging her. But at the end of the day, not every woman you like is going to like you, and vice versa. And what you're looking for is mutual attraction, mutual desire. He says, "I explained to her that I wanted the weekend to be a date. because I saw her as more than just something casual. That's where you're going off the rails. That's how all relationships start. It's just kind of a casual hanging out, having fun, and hooking up together. Just like you did without even realizing it. He says, all was fine when we started dating at home, but I found that she doesn't say nice things back or even good night. She will just fall asleep and not seem too bothered when I leave her place in the morning, etc. He says, any form of I miss you. All that means is she's just not feeling it. If she was head over heels in love with you, she'd be blowing up your phone, she'd want to see you. But a relationship happens slowly over time. It doesn't happen on the first date. It doesn't happen on the third date. It doesn't even happen on the fifth date. If you follow what I teach in my book, it takes till date 7, which is usually around week 6 or 7. I should say week 7, because you might go out 10 or 12 times before that happens. But if you're thinking about bringing up the relation topic or boyfriend, girlfriend, if she hasn't brought it up or she's not talking about it in that particular moment, assume it is too soon. And just keep hanging out casually, having fun and hooking up. Because otherwise you just complicate things and you come off as being needy and insecure, pushy, and she feels like she's going to lose her freedom, which will cause any woman to start naturally backing away. He says, we hold hands, kiss, and cuddle up in bed, which is lovely. He says, sex is good too, which she says, I'm the best, which is very flattering. Why can't that be enough? It's like you got this idea in your head, I got to get this label, I got to have this commitment. She's got to act like my girlfriend. It's like she's not emotionally in a place where she wants to say those things because she just simply ain't feeling it. Well, again, women aren't light switches, just like the quote that I shared. He says, but I feel like she's holding back and giving herself to me emotionally, such as sharing insecurities, and can come off as selfish. Is this because she's trying to protect herself? Well, all women are going to try to protect their heart when they first start dating a guy. I mean, everybody's been hurt in a relationship before. Everybody's gotten their heart stepped on. Everybody's gotten their feelings hurt before. It's just part of human nature. It's part of life. If you're going to date, those things are going to happen. He says, when I spoke to her about it, it seems like you don't care. Bad thing to do. He says she got angry and said something like, not everyone is the same, and you're trying to change me. He says, like it's me that's at fault. Well, actually, yeah, you are, because the reason she got upset and mad at you is because you're acting weak. You're acting like a woman. You're acting like a needy little boy. You're not acting like the man that she casually hooked up with on that first date. He says, I basically said, I don't want you to change, just I want to know that she feels the same because I can't read her. Dude, she's sleeping with you and she's having a great time with you. What's the problem? It's like you're overcomplicating things because you've bought into this bullshit societal conditioning that the relationship has to happen in the beginning, and then it's like a switch. Okay, now we're in a relationship, so you got to start telling me I love you all the time and calling me all the time and telling me that you miss me. And it's like it doesn't work that way. When she feels that, she'll do it. And if she ain't doing it, it's just because she doesn't feel it. Doesn't mean she doesn't like you. It just means that she's not emotionally at that place. You're being very impatient. He says, is this something I have or haven't done? Yeah, you're acting needy and you're wanting too much too soon. This is what most of the guys do because they've seen all the same movies and TV shows that you have, which is all focused around a relationship. He says her dad was an alcoholic and they really struggled. They didn't have much money when she was a kid. Her mother and father passed away, so again, I don't know if this is something that holds her back. Well, so far, everything you share with me, she sounds like a normal woman, and she's reacting like how any normal woman would react when you act needy this way. He says, I think the world of her, but there are certain things she says that I believe to try and gauge a reaction from me, but if I got upset and pissed off, that I would feel that I'd fail her test. Yeah, you should never let anything a woman does diminish you, and at the end of the day, women bluff to test your strength. Especially in this case, because now you're all focused on the relationship because you've been out a few times, you've been hooking up, and she can tell that. And so she's going to test you to see what you're made of. And if you keep failing those tests, she's going to realize that you're not good boyfriend material, and you'll end up getting a let's just be friends speech, which obviously isn't what you want. He says, in summary, I feel quite vulnerable, and I want to feel less anxious about us. I mean, it's like, so if you're boyfriend, girlfriend, is that going to make you feel better about yourself? Is that what, I mean, that's basically what you're saying here. I need a label to feel good about myself. It's like, you got to ask yourself, where did that belief come from? Where did you pick up on that? I mean, think about that. He says, I will say things like, I've really enjoyed being together today, but she doesn't say anything like that to me. So I could do with some advice as to whether or not she will change, and also if I need to change to make it work. Yeah, just be patient. Have a good time with her. If you want to say you had a great time with her, just tell her that. But probably part of the reason why she's not saying any of those things because she can tell that you're more into this than she is at this point. And that's causing her to back away and not feel comfortable because she probably feels like if she says any of those things, you're going to take that and you're going to, it's like she give you an inch, you're going to take a mile. In other words, she just say one little thing and you're going to automatically assume that you're in a relationship and make things even more weird and awkward than you already are making them. So he says, just so you're aware, I'm normally a happy and have a good sense of humored person, but I do get easily brought down if someone doesn't seem to reciprocate. So that's the limiting belief. In other words, I don't feel I'm worthy. And so deep down, you have a limiting belief that says you don't feel like you deserve this girl, even though she's sleeping with you and telling you it's the best sex she's ever had. But because you deep down believe, you presuppose that you're not good enough for her, then eventually she's going to dump you like all of the other girls in the past probably have when you've acted this way. It's like you're assuming that. And so everything you say, everything you do, your body language, your physiology, it's like you're just looking for evidence of things are not going to work out. And you get what you focus on in life. Where intention goes, energy flows. What you focus on tends to expand. And so if you're focusing on things probably not working out in the future, then guess what? You're going to make that happen by this kind of behavior. So he says, I'm not asking for the world, but just the odd verbal showing of feelings back. Well, in other words, what's going on is you're offering how you feel or what you like about her, and then you're expecting something in return. Love is a gift from your heart. It's not horse trading, or I say I love you and you have to say it back, or I care about you and she has to say it back, or make you dinner, or suck your dick, or whatever it happens to be. Again, you give a gift of, hey, you look gorgeous tonight, honey. Oh, you look amazing in that fucking dress. I just want to fucking rip it off, and later, we're going to do that when we get home. It's saying things like that and not expecting a response. That's weak. That's needy behavior. In other words, it's like you need her to validate your self-esteem by saying something nice about you. She's fucking your brains out and telling you it's the best sex she ever had. It's like, come on, man. He says, I'm not needy. Yes, you are. But when I'm with this lady, I sometimes let something slip out, which makes me feel like a child and she the parent. He says, I want to be her mountain, as I've seen you put in previous articles, but I'm not sure whether she has barriers or is just tough. She's just simply not at that place. And when she feels that, then you will become her rock and her mountain. Until then, hang out, have fun, and hook up, and stop complicating things. So let's get into the second email I got. The guy says, I've been going out with a woman for a year. We exchange I love yous on a regular basis. She's 44 and I'm 48. She's never been married, and I am previously married and now divorced. Normally, she's fairly reserved with strangers, but on a few occasions, she has initiated a conversation with a guy nearby in my presence. Well, she may be doing that to see how you react, to see if you're jealous, or she could potentially be flirting with them. And that's why you can't come off as needy and insecure or jealous, because at the end of the day, if you're with a woman and she's not an honorable person, if loyalty doesn't mean jack shit, if a commitment doesn't mean jack shit to her, give her enough rope, see if she hangs herself with it. Because that way you'll know. If you see her sliding her phone number to some other dude when she's out on a date with you, that's obviously not a good sign. He says, one of the discussions went on for about 5 minutes, and he says she knew somebody that was in a certain event that matched the event on the guy's t-shirt, and that is how the conversation started. Maybe she's just friendly and outgoing. Maybe she's doing it to see if you get a little jealous or if it bothers you, which would be weakness. Because at the end of the day, if you felt like you're a catch and she goes off on another guy, your attitude should be like, hey, it's your fucking loss, and you feel that way. Because the number one most important thing to men in a relationship is loyalty. And you need to know that your girl's going to be loyal. And these are good situations where you just sit back, chill, and observe her and see what happens. When she comes back over, it's like, hey, who was that? See what she says. He says, what are possible motivations for doing this? Well, I just suggested a bunch of them. He says, is this more likely an indication of simple curiosity of a stranger, a bit of jealousy testing, or of seeing how I would react? Probably any or all of what you just mentioned. He says, I'm not sure if she would have done this had I not been there, so it's a bit disconcerting either way. That's why you always need to pay attention to what a woman does, not what she says. So the third email I got, let's go into that. This guy says, hey Corey, I came across your website and I'm going to purchase some of your stuff. Very good info. I've got a situation that after reading some of your stuff I think I know the answer to, but I'll ask anyway. I got set up with this girl through my brother and his wife at a wedding. We hung out for a couple of hours, I got her number, and we went our separate ways. I texted her and we made plans for the 4th a few weeks later. She was really into it. We went to the coast for the 4th, ended up sleeping together, which I really wasn't going to push in any way, but it was great. Hang out, have fun, hook up. You just let it happen. That's how romance happens. If you ever read any of these romance novels that women are always reading, that's what happens. It's just two people, they like each other, there's obviously a really strong attraction. They hang out, one thing leads to another, and the sex happens. That's just naturally how it's supposed to work. It's not two people get together and go, hey, I like you, you like me. Let's have a relationship. It doesn't work that way. It's women fall in love slowly over time. He says, we had an awesome weekend and she ended up leaving 2 days later. That's great, man. Obviously, you knocked it out of the park the first weekend. He says, so we texted and talked for the next month and we had plans. The phone is for setting dates, not getting to know somebody. He said, we had plans to see each other last week, and her roommate, who she grew up with, was moving out. Well, it was supposed to be in 3 weeks and got bumped up to that weekend. The roommate folks came into town to help her move, etc., so me going to visit wasn't the best timing. Let me just say that I've never had to chase girls in my life. Well, you should never start, because if you do, you'll chase them right out of your life. What happens if you run after a cat and try to pick it up? It's going to haul ass. And you run over to a dog, it's just going to sit there and be glad you picked him up and you gave him some affection. He says, it's always come pretty easy to me. I'm not bragging, but it's never been an issue. He says, so anyway, she burned me down, and I've asked her to do some stuff before on a short notice type of situation because we do live 4 hours away. Well, if you live 4 hours away, you shouldn't be like calling her out of the blue and expecting her to be available for you tomorrow night or whatever. It's just simple, hey, I'd love to see you. When are you free to get together next? Make definite plans and then get off the phone. Your problem is you're talking too much on the phone and you're talking her right out of liking you because in your mind, a lot of times I do phone sessions with guys. They're just like, well, I got to call her. I got to keep the rapport going. It's like, no, you don't. If you have a date set a few days or a few weeks in advance and she likes you, she's already slept with you at this point, she's going to be looking forward to it. It actually has a positive effect on her. It gives her something to look forward to. And when you actually see her versus when you set the date, she'll actually be more into you, and you haven't done anything. I know it's counterintuitive, but that's just the way it works. Absence really does make the heart grow fonder when you handle it properly. He says, and she's had plans, so no big deal. So when she was supposed to get in touch with me on a Wednesday night after she went out, she never did. Well, that would be a sign of attraction dropping. But sometimes women will say, hey, I'll call you tomorrow night, or I'll call you later. And they don't. And the guy just comes completely unglued. Maybe she was busy. Maybe she had a late night. Maybe she's just doing it to see how you react because she sensed weakness in you. Again, it's like you're thinking like a guy who's assuming you're in a relationship with her and you've really just had one weekend together. It's the same problem as the first email that I went through. He says, I never heard from her Thursday, and then I called her Friday at lunch. That's a bad move. She said, I will call you. And if she doesn't call you, you should just, maybe she's busy. Maybe she had to go out of town unexpectedly. You should just assume if you're comfortable in your own skin and you're not worried or paranoid about women dumping you or not wanting to be in a relationship with you, oh, she must be busy. I'm sure she'll get back to me when she figures it out or she's got some time. In the meantime, let me go out with one of the other girls that I know. So he says he called her at lunch and to see if I was still going up to see her, and she said it wasn't going to work because her roommate was moving out and she had to help, etc. Well, it tells me you really didn't have definite plans. You kind of had left things up in the air, and this is obviously you're talking too much on the phone, you're not making definite dates, and you're calling presupposing that she's going to cancel on you. And that's the real reason you didn't wait for her to call you is because, just like the first guy, you're assuming that it's just a matter of time before you get dumped and rejected. And you got to ask yourself, does that really help you? Does that really help your situation to think from that place? Because again, what you focus on expands. If you're focused on getting dumped or jerked around, you're going to act in a way that causes exactly that to happen. He says, this is a girl she had grown up with. I assume he's talking about the roommate. So I offered to drive the 4 hours Saturday night after they got done packing, and she said, it's up to you. He says, not the answer I was looking for. Well, that should tell you everything about how she really feels about you. He says, I told her I was frustrated. Come on, man. It's a bad way to go. And what's really going on here is your issue. Now you're projecting your garbage and your weakness and your insecurities and your fears and your doubts on her, and you're expecting her to do something with it. All you're doing is basically saying, I don't feel I'm worthy and you're probably going to dump me anyways, but please don't dump me yet because I'd really like to see at least one more time. It's like, come on, man. Think about it. Does that make you look strong or weak? Would James Bond ever act that way? Abso-fucking-lutely not. So he says, meaning I've tried to make plans with her and she has stuff every time. Well, obviously you're not a real high priority, and that should tell you everything about how she feels. You talk to her too much on the phone instead of setting dates, and so more than likely you probably thought you were being funny and cute on the phone and she didn't like what you were saying. You turned her off. Maybe you told her all of your insecurities, your fears, your doubts, and all your weird hang-ups, and she's not really that interested anymore. So he says, being 4 hours away is going to take a little bit of effort on both parts. She apologized and said she wanted to see me, but this weekend wasn't good. Always look at a woman's actions. Oh, of course I want to see you. He says, my opinion is that she broke plans, things happen, but she has made no attempt to reschedule. What does my book say when she does that? Walk and never look back. He says, also, I think it was completely disrespectful to not tell me the day that I was supposed to head up that it wasn't going to work. I shouldn't have had to call her to find that out. Well, if you'd have properly set a date with definite plans, you wouldn't feel like you've got to call her and go through all this bullshit. Because if she gives you like an unsure, like, I don't know, my roommate's going to be moving, I would have just said, well, let's just do it some other time when your schedule's free. And then you shut your mouth and see what she says. If she really wants to see you, she'll go, no, we can get together after we get done moving. I just don't want to have you drive all the way up here and me be dead tired. Or if she just says, okay, yeah, we'll do it another time, and if she says it like that, then you just go, great. When you figure out your schedule, give me a call and we'll plan something in because I'd love to see you. And then you got to wait for her to get back to you. He says she should have called me to apologize and make it right. See, it's like you have these unreasonable expectations. She's not meeting them, and therefore you get upset with her. So when you expect other people to act the way you want them to, you're pretty much always going to be disappointed, and you got to make yourself miserable. Just be grateful when you get to spend time with a girl. Be grateful that she wants to see you and she's excited. He says, anyway, her texts and calls were more infrequent and shorter last week before this happened. That tells me that her attraction level was dropping, and you were talking too much on the phone. And obviously you said you're texting her, and I can't count the number of times I've done phone sessions with guys, and they think their texting is funny, and they read to me what they said. I'm like, oh, come on, man. It's like shit goes over like a lead balloon. It's like, of course that's why she's not wanting to text you. The phone is for setting dates. If you do anything other than that, you're just going to get yourself into trouble. He says, she said she apologized, and she could sense my frustration and knew I was pissed. I tried to play it off, but pretty evident, obviously. Yeah, now she definitely knows you're weak. He says, like I said, this doesn't happen to me with chicks. Yeah, only the ones you really like. He says, they are usually a dime a dozen, come and go. He says, no big deal, but this girl's gotten to me, and now I think I may be screwed. Probably. He says, my plan is to not have any contact with her until she contacts me. It's a good plan. He says, I may just wait a day or so to get back with her. You just said the exact opposite in the previous sentence. It's like, come on, man. He says, any advice you give would be greatly appreciated. I wouldn't do anything with her. Walk and never look back. If she reaches out to you, make a date to hang out, have fun, and hook up. Keep it really simple. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone session. You can do that by going to my website, click the products tab, and follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.